All right, next. So this is really part two of today's lecture here. So the Congress of Vienna. So for my students, I'm actually not going to put the Congress of Vienna on the Unit 2 test. I actually use really the Congress of Vienna as a starting point for Unit 3 in the 19th century in general. But I am still going to teach it here because it also makes sense to talk about how Europe is put back together after Napoleon. So I'm going to teach it anyways, so just listen, and you're going to hear me talk about it again in a few weeks. All right, Congress of Vienna, we know where Vienna is. It is in Austria, and this is going to be how they put Europe back together. So who is here? So we have the main players are the people who defeated Napoleon: Austria, Britain, Russia, Prussia, France. Well, actually, so France is going to be there to make sure it is going to look too horrible for them. So look at who really is there, though. We have a prince, a viscount, a czar, another prince. These people are of the nobility, or actually the kings of these countries. So they're going to create policies that are very pro-noble and pro-monarch. Remember, Napoleon played favorites towards the middle class. Here, we're going to see, again, another, like, really trying to turn back the clock kind of idea. So the person to know out of any of them is going to be, by far, Metternich. Prince von Metternich, the Austrian foreign minister. And this guy will be ultimately responsible for shaping European foreign policy for the first half of the 19th century. Really applies until about 1850-ish. So Metternich is a gotta know here. So another term you might see is the Peace of Vienna. I usually call it the Congress of Vienna, so call it good there. All right. Major goals. We're going to go through each of one of these in more detail, but here's your general idea. First, they need to bring back all of those royal families that were either overthrown in the French Revolution or overthrown during Napoleon's reign. Give people some land, because, that's usually what happens after a war is finished. Create order and stability. Underline this. Think about the French Revolution. The word revolution inherently means unstable. Think about Napoleon's reign, where he conquered a good portion of Europe. That's a big change in stability. So the Congress of Vienna wants to turn back the clock of European history, back to pre-1789. So a term I forgot to actually talk about when talking about the French Revolution was what we call France before 1789 is called the old regime, ancien régime. So they want to make Europe look like the ancien régime, old regime. What does Europe look like before 1789? So additionally, the Congress of Vienna is inherently a conservative political movement. So they create this idea called the Concert of Europe. The whole idea is crush the idea of revolution before it even begins. Conservatism means you don't like change. This is an example of it. Crush revolutionary ideas. And if there is a revolution, crush it with force. And we're going to see examples of that in the 19th century, where these insurrections and revolutions will, in fact, be crushed. So another term for Concert of Europe is called the Metternich system. So please note, maybe write it next to this, the Metternich system. So if you see Concert of Europe, the Metternich system, just know they basically mean the same thing. All right, so some more details. The idea of legitimacy. So look who is coming back to the throne. They bring back the Bourbon dynasty to France as Louis XVIII. So you might be asking yourself, wait, what happened to Louis XVII? Well, Louis XVII officially never actually existed. So, all right, we know Louis XVI had some head problems. And Louis XVI did have a child, but his child died in prison, in the Temple prison. So the monarchists of France, they actually consider Louis XVI's son to actually have been king of France, even though he never was. So they give Louis XVI's son the honorific title of Louis XVII, but the actual next king of France goes to the brother of Louis XVI, and he is known as Louis XVIII, and his nickname was Louis the Desired. Oh yeah, look at that face of desire. Yeah. All right. So Louis XVIII, the Bourbons come back to France. All right, next, the Netherlands. They officially have a kingdom now. So before the House of Orange actually was not king of the Netherlands, but in this case, they will in fact become now king of the Netherlands. So still, the House of Orange is actually in power in the Netherlands. Of course, it's a constitutional monarchy today. All right, Spain. They bring back the Spanish Bourbons as Ferdinand VII. Portugal. They bring back the House of Braganza when Napoleon took over the Iberian Peninsula. The actually the entire royal family of Portugal, House of Braganza, fled to their colony in modern-day Brazil. And we'll talk about the implications of that at the very end of this lecture. So, Louis XVIII is back. Next, compensation. So we see some border changes. Austria gets some Italian lands in the north, and this will be important for the context of Italian unification, which we'll talk about in Unit 3. Prussia gains more land on the left-hand side of the Rhine, part of Saxony. Russia occupies Poland, folks. Poland does not exist in the Congress of Vienna. After the third partition of Poland in the late 18th century, Poland will not exist as a country until the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. Alrighty, next. So, let's see, what do we have here? Alright, some changes. So, Kingdom of Spain, independent. Kingdom of France, independent. Kingdom of Portugal, independent. Italy is still a cluster mess. The Confederation of the Rhine is basically there. The Netherlands actually gains, look at this, the Netherlands gains modern-day Belgium. So Austria loses the Austrian Netherlands. I mean, technically Napoleon conquered it anyway, but basically when they made the Netherlands a kingdom, they wanted to strengthen it, so they gave Netherlands the southern part here, which is modern-day Belgium, and eventually Belgium will become independent of the Netherlands by the 1830s. All right, order and stability. Circle it, underline it. This is a great word to associate with the Congress of Vienna. Order and stability. Even the Global Regents exam uses those terms for multiple choice questions. So again, they want to make Europe look like it did before 1789. They want to crush out revolutionary ideas. This is known as the Metternich system. And the people who would ensure this order and stability are the powers of Europe, the concert of Europe. They're all working together to create this conservative order and to maintain that conservative order. All right, I already told you about Belgium being added to the Netherlands to strengthen it. Switzerland becomes eternally neutral. Oh, man. There's your stereotype right there. Piedmont given to the Genoese. We'll talk more about that with the Italian unification. And circle this one. The German states are still disunited. The Metternich did not want a unified German state because they feared a unified Germany would alter the balance of power. Yes, the balance of power is critically important in the 19th century as well. Honestly, I think really from the beginning of the 1700s, 18th century, really to almost the entirety of the 19th century, the idea of balance of power is super important for European foreign policy. Alrighty, so the former Confederation of the Rhine is now called the German Confederation. So it's kind of like Holy Roman Empire Part 2. It's again loosely organized, and the most important countries to know are Austria and Prussia. Eventually, Prussia is going to start gobbling up these German-speaking regions and calling it Germany. But we're not there yet. All right, the Metternich system, also known as the Quadruple Alliance. I wouldn't even bother memorizing the Quadruple Alliance, just known as the Metternich system, which is the Britain, France, Britain, Russia, Prussia, Austria, who will work together to crush revolutionary ideals and any type of revolution. And they will be largely successful until about 1850, more or less. So then Russia additionally adds on something called the Holy Alliance, where you have Russia, Prussia, and Austria, again, who are doing the same thing. They want to ensure conservatism in Europe, and they will, in fact, do that. They will crush revolts in Hungary. Well, really, the Russians will crush revolts in Hungary. But again, the Holy Alliance, really, I say, is an extension of the Metternich system in general. So, again, this is going to last until about midway through the 19th century, but we're not there yet. That will be Unit 3.